story I'm about to tell you is not true, but in a way, it kind of is true. So, once upon a time, I was about 16 years old, and I was working a summer job. This summer job was really, really shitty. But it was my first job, so I didn't realize how shitty it was until much later when I worked other jobs and I saw it. So I worked at this empanada place. And the thing you have to understand about empanadas is empanadas are actually a really hard process to make. You have to make the dough from scratch. You need to get the ingredients that are going to go in the empanadas. And there's 5 million. There's chicken, there's seasoned chicken, there's steak, seasoned steak. You get what I mean. And usually in a restaurant, the people who prepare the food are the chefs, right? They're people who either went to school for it or have experience or started from a dishwasher position and worked their way up. But the thing is, this empanada restaurant was completely failing financially. And because it was my first job, any amount of money that somebody would pay me would be insane, right? So I saw that even $5 an hour, which is what I was getting paid, I thought that was insane, because I was oh, if I work for 20 hours, that's $100. Holy shit, that's a video game and a date for me and my first girlfriend at the time. This is really good money. So I didn't really care. And initially when I started the job, it was pretty basic. I was just working the cash register for the 4 customers that came in every day, which is pretty easy. I mean, they train you how to do it. It's just basically an iPad that you work on. It's not if you know how to use an iPad, you know how to do it. So it's not craziness. But at the same time, I was really convinced that I needed to be doing more, because it was my first job, and people were getting fired from the job because the restaurant was failing. But I didn't know that it was failing because I was a stupid kid. So I offered to help make the empanadas. And this was a bad idea. So it was a bad idea. It was a really bad idea. And the reason why it was a really bad idea was because there was this chef who was in charge of everything. He was also the owner of the restaurant, named Marcos. And I speak Spanish, so this was all in Spanish, but I'm going to translate it for you. So Marcos really cares about empanadas. And you would think that that care about empanadas only applies to the making of the empanadas, but no. I would come into work at 5 a.m. even though the restaurant wasn't open until 12. It was the stupidest job of all time. I would come into work at 5 a.m. Marcos would be there and he would be it's time. And I thought that we were about to go to war or some shit, but he was it is time for making the empanadas. And I was okay. And he was let us begin. First of all, you're filthy, take a shower. And I was what? And he was take a shower. You cannot touch the empanadas with your filthy hands. And I'm I'm clean, I showered last night. He's no, you must shower in the back now. And so there was a shower. This is the weirdest fucking restaurant of all time. There was a shower in the back of the apartment. And in the back of the apartment, that shower was disgusting. The back of the restaurant, it was disgusting because it was 20 employees would use it, and the restaurant was failing. They couldn't afford to pay for a cleaner, so it was a disgusting shower. But Marcos told me that I had to do it, so I got into the shower, I did it, whatever. And I was taking a really quick shower, just sudsing off, whatever. And then in the middle of my shower, Marcos just opens the curtain of the shower and is you're taking too long, we need to make the... And he saw my dick. I'm 16 years old, he's a pedophile. He saw my penis, but he just cared so much about the empanadas. He wasn't trying to be a pervert, but he was just you're taking too long, the empanadas, you need to do it. And because of that, I just was really just distraught. I didn't know what to do, and it was just, I didn't know what to do. So I dried off. He got the empanadas, and I knew how to make empanadas at this point because I was kind of already helping. So he was, or no, the shower story was a little later. So I'd already been helping with the empanadas, but basically you start making empanadas just by like putting flour onto the counter, right? It's like you're not even making it yet. It's just flour so that the dough doesn't stick when you make the dough. So I put the flour on the counter, and because the restaurant was failing, Marcos was like really stingy about the flour. So I put it on, and he was like, "No, that's too much flour. You're wasting money. You're costing me everything." And I'm like, bro, like if we don't have like enough flour on the thing, the dough is gonna stick. And he said, "You don't know how to make empanadas. I make empanadas every day in Argentina. In Argentina, we make empanadas with very little flour. You don't know, you spoiled American fuck." And I'm like just standing there, and again, this is my first job. I didn't realize that I was being verbally abused by a pedophilic Argentinian man, but I was. And so in my verbal abuse, I was like, okay, and I like cleaned off some of the flour. So then we needed to make the flour, and you know, it's just basically just like bread, but with no yeast. So it's like you put like flour, you put like water, just like a little bit of water. You don't put any yeast in it, and you put like starch and like this Argentinian like riser thing. I don't really know what it is, but like it was there, so I just like knew the ratio that I had to put in. And I was like sort of doing that like while Marcos was like watching me. But the thing is, Marcos is a horrendous micromanager. Is why a lot of employees have quit. So basically every time I like put an ingredient in, it was like he would like slap my hand and like put me away. And it was like I did not know how to make these empanadas right, because like I sort of knew what the recipe was, like it was written on the thing in Marcos's broken English, but like the reason that he was like micromanaging everything was because he was totally convinced that his empanadas were a gift from God, and he was like a very religious dude, so he kept being like, "My empanadas are a gift from God. You don't understand my empanadas." And it was like, I was just completely distraught, because the last thing that I wanted to do is like get yelled at by the dude that literally just saw my penis. But I had no choice, because if I left, the restaurant would immediately go bankrupt, because I was the only employee. like at this point, I was the only employee left, and Marcos was doing everything himself, and like it's impossible to make empanadas and work the cash register at the same time. Of course, no customers were going in, so it would kind of be okay. But like if there were like 20 customers at once, like the restaurant would go completely bankrupt. So we have the dough for the empanadas. Basically, we sort of lay it out, and we throw it into the oven. We have like some like chicken. We like throw the chicken on. We have some steak. We throw the steak on. We fold the empanadas. We put like a fork on them, so it's like kind of has that like empanada feel, empanada vibe. I don't expect you to know what an empanada is, but I worked at this fucking place, and you're sharing my trauma with me. So it was like everything was right, except for like, because you're cooking the empanadas, you need to like put the fork in the top. And when the fork goes in the top, it's lit. You don't need to do anything special. It's literally just you're putting the fork in the top. But Marcos was extremely particular about the way in which you put the fork in the top. He says, "You don't understand how to put the fork in. You need to put the fork in the way you put your penis in a woman." And I was just like, "What?" And he was like, "You put the fork in the way you put your penis in a woman." And I was 16, and I was dating a girl, but we hadn't had sex. So I was basically like, I haven't slept with a woman before. And he said, "You haven't slept with a woman before? What are you doing cooking empanadas? You haven't slept with a woman." So first of all, Marcos thinks that the W-Riz, like the ultimate Riz of all time, is like making empanadas. Like he thinks that if a girl sees me making empanadas in this restaurant, she's gonna immediately just like seduce me and like have sex with me in the bathroom. But no, I was a fucking 16-year-old kid. I was working my first job. I had no money because I was spending all my money on video games that I earned from this shitty job. And I was traumatized by the fact that like this Argentinian man every single day from 5 a.m. to 2 p.m. was screaming at me, and it was just completely nuts. So, by the way, the Empanada restaurant, it wasn't open for dinner. It was only open for lunch from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. And he wondered why we didn't get any fucking customers. It was like the worst fucking run business of all time. And they had already been open for like a year and a half before I came. So I don't know what they were doing. I guess it was just like hemorrhaging money. But anyway, so after the whole like penis in a woman thing, Marcos basically just took the fork out of my hand like, no! And he like just put it in, and like once that was all done, like we put the empanadas in the oven, and it was like, okay. And this was like a couple hundred empanadas. It was like way more empanadas than we would normally need. But of course, Marcos was in complete denial that his restaurant was failing. So immediately he's like, okay, time for another one. And this time I no touch. He's like, this is the first time that this ever happened, because he'd always just like micromanaged, touched, slapped my hand, you know, assaulted me, told me to take a shower. But this time he was being a little different. He was kind of being like, no, today you make the empanadas yourself and I show. And I was like, okay. And even though that doesn't make any sense in English, I sort of knew what he meant. It was like, I need to show him what I've learned and all that. So I make the empanadas, I put them together. I like do everything that we just did. I put the fork in the way you put the penis in a woman, and he's not stopping me. So I think I'm doing a pretty good job. I'm like, damn, like maybe I like actually am making these empanadas in a good way. And I put the empanadas in the oven, and Marcos is just like staring at me, like kind of like with a weird, like sadistic smile on his face, and he's kind of like, and it's like it's really creepy. Like I don't want like this random ass guy to like be staring at me like that, especially after like all of the trauma that I've gone through on this specific day. And finally he's just like, and I'm like, what? And he says, do you want to be my business partner? And I'm like, what? And he's like, you'll be my business partner. All I need $10,000. And I'm like, what? And he's like, $10,000, you and I go into business together. And I'm like, first of all, I'm 16 years old. I'm fucking leaving this shit when school starts. Second of all, no, this business is fucking failing, and I hate every day that I work here. The only reason I'm here is because I'm addicted to video games and I need to take my girlfriend out on a date. And he's like, you don't want to go in business with me? And I'm like, I literally don't have $10,000. I have no money. That's why I'm working here. Do you think anybody who would work here, I didn't say this, but I said, do you think anybody would work here if they weren't financially desperate? Like getting paid $5 an hour to like be accosted and pedophilized and everything? And he was just like completely dumbfounded that I didn't want to work with him. And so the store opened, like a few people came in. They're all these like Argentinian people. I think they were all like Marcos's family. I never really saw, but it was like always a woman and her kids, and then like an older guy, and then like two like old Argentinian ladies. I'm pretty sure like the only person that like wasn't related to Marcos, and I didn't speak Spanish as well as I did back then, but I'm pretty sure the only person who wasn't related to Marcos was one of the two old ladies who was like friends with his grandma. And you would think that like they would like, because they come in every day, they would like enjoy the empanadas. But no, all of them fucking complained to me about how bad my empanadas were, even though Marcos was the one making them for the most part. That they would be like, you stupid white, you don't understand how to make things. First of all, Argentinian people are white. I mean, they're Latino, but like they have white skin. Like it's not like they're like black, you know what I mean? Anyway, they're like, you stupid white, you stupid American fuck, you don't understand how to make empanadas good. And I said, I would always be like, yeah, like, sorry, because I didn't want to get fired. So I would be like, yeah, like, sorry, like, I don't know, like, it's, whatever, like, I can't make these empanadas right, and I'm sorry. And they would, like, complain all the time, whatever. So you can basically see that like 5 a.m. to 2 p.m. every day of my summer, like it was really shitty. Like I hated it, but afterwards I could kind of do whatever I wanted. Like my girlfriend at the time and I like would like go out for lunch after, or like get food and like hang out at her house, and then we would like kiss a little bit and whatever. And finally, like what Marcos said to me about like being a virgin like weighs on my mind, right? And so I'm with her, and let's just call her like Stephanie in the story. It's not her name, but okay. So I'm with Stephanie, and like we're hanging out, and I finally am just like, do you want to have sex, to Stephanie? And I thought that she was gonna say no, because like she was my first girlfriend ever, like my first kiss, like everything like that. So like I didn't think that she would say yes. But she was like, yeah, okay. And I was like, oh shit. So like we start making out, we start like having like, you know, things are getting hot and heavy, like she's kissing on my neck, like it's like really like awesome. I'm thinking about like, oh my God, like I'm not gonna be a virgin anymore, this is fucking awesome. And who pops into my mind when my girlfriend is like finally like, I'm ready, like let's do this, like let's have this, let's do it. She looks into my eyes, I'm ready to like go in, you know, like start the sex, and Marcos comes into my fucking mind, and the first thought is, I was just attacked by a pedophile. I realized that him looking at a 16-year-old penis is a fucking crime, and I was assaulted. So what do I do when my girlfriend of like 3 months is like finally ready to have sex with me? I'm about to like lose my virginity. I start fucking crying because of all the trauma of this, and I'm just like, whatever. And my girlfriend's like, oh no, like we don't have to have sex, we don't. And I can't even explain to her that I'm not mad at her, I'm just mad at fucking Marcos. So after that I told my parents that about what happened, and they immediately like helped me quit the job, and they like reported Marcos to the police, and like nothing really happened. The police like where I live kind of sucks, but like nothing happened. But like I left the restaurant, and I think I was like the only employee keeping the restaurant afloat. So like the restaurant closed after a couple weeks, and I think Marcos went back to Argentina. Like he didn't go to prison or whatever. But yeah, that story is completely fake, by the way. I just made that up driving around in the car. But like, subscribe, and leave me a comment if you like this story. I can do this all day. I like really love telling stories. So have a good one.